Seeker. Written by Suzana Thompson. Performed by Heather Firth. Chapter 45. The moment has arrived. I'm walking down the aisle with my dad as Silas watches me approach. His dark eyes are riveted on me, and he doesn't even glance at my dad when he hands me off to him. I know that it was supposed to be an emotional moment between me and my dad, but I hadn't been able to look away from Silas to give my dad a parting glance. I feel the connection between me and Silas more strongly than I ever have before. We are completely focused on each other as the minister speaks. Silas is wearing black, as he was the first time I saw him. But now it's a black tuxedo. His previously gaunt figure has broadened into the body of a man. His enjoyment of food has added some solid weight to his frame, while running has added lean muscle. He was already attractive with his dark good looks, but he's become one of the most handsome guys I've ever seen. I've never spent much time looking at him in a purely physical sense before, but I'm now admiring the view before me. When I speak my vows, I'm brought back to the reverence of the occasion. I'm not at the mall checking out a cute guy. I'm at a church, promising to love and honor the man I'm marrying. The spark of physical excitement remains in my body as the ceremony concludes, and I remind myself that my lust is no longer a sin. I'm allowed to lust after my husband. My husband. The realization that Silas is my husband is surreal as people begin to congratulate us. I'm vaguely aware that my parents are standing near us, along with Justin, Shelby, and Michael, while people shake hands with all of us and speak words of congratulations. Some even hug us or give us advice on marriage. Mason is last in line, and I introduce him to Silas. He gives Silas a perfunctory handshake and a begrudging congratulations, before immediately returning his attention to me. "You look beautiful, Mila." His eyes sweep over my gown. "Thank you," I say. "Thank you for coming, too." His gaze is somber and intense as he replies, "I hope you'll be happy." "I will," I assure him before gesturing toward Shelby. "You remember Shelby?" I prompt. He looks at her. "Hi, Shelby." "Hi, Mason," she replies, managing to briefly hold his gaze before dropping her eyes shyly. "You look beautiful, too," he tells her with a sly glance at me. I grin at him, and he grins back, wickedly. Poor Shelby is already flustered by his compliment as she responds with a softly voiced thank you. I'm thinking that she might not be able to handle the attention she was wishing for from him. He definitely remembered what I told him about her having a crush on him, and his mischievous streak is prompting him to use that knowledge to fluster her. Seeing the effect he has on her will only encourage him further. "Be nice," I mouth at him. His expression changes to mock surprise before he speaks and puts Shelby on the spot. "Want to ride with me to Nico, Shelby? I'm here by myself." She throws a panicked look at me, clearly not having anticipated being alone with him today. We have to go take pictures at the park first," she answers meekly. "I'll drive you there too," he declares. "Okay, so I'll wait for you outside." My parents hug us in emotional congratulations after he leaves, but Justin just shakes hands with us. I grab him and pull him into a hug. "I love you, Justin." "Love you too," he replies, but quickly extricates himself from my embrace. Hearing him speak the words he hasn't said to me since he was little was more than I expected from him, and I'm smiling in happiness while he follows my parents out of the church. Shelby looks apprehensive when she hugs me, but she won't say anything about Mason in front of Silas and Michael. "Well, Mila," Michael says. "It's great to finally meet you, especially in such wonderful circumstances." "It's wonderful to meet you too," I tell him. "Thank you for doing this for us." "Silas has become a good friend, and I'm honored to be his best man," Michael replies. "It's very nice to meet you too, Shelby." I see that she is still lingering here with us. "It's nice to meet you." She's able to easily smile at Michael, unlike her nervous response to Mason. Michael offers her his arm in a gentlemanly fashion. "Shall we?" She takes his arm, and the best man and my bridesmaid walk out together. I glance at Silas and see him gazing at me with such intense appreciation that the words he speaks aren't necessary to convey his thoughts. "You're beautiful," he tells me. I beam in pleasure and throw out my arms in a pose of display. "You like my dress?" "It's beautiful," he says, "and you're so beautiful in it. When I saw you, it was like a vision." I'm smiling at his lovely compliments, but I blurt out something less appropriate for church. "You look hot in that tux." He surprises me by knowing exactly what I mean. "I'm glad you think so." His dark eyes have a bit of smolder as he steps closer. "Dylan said a girl wants you if she thinks you're hot." I realize why he would have been discussing that with Dylan in high school. "Which girl told you that you're hot?" "I don't remember her name." He answers sincerely. "It doesn't matter now. I only care about you." I'm caught up in his gaze, but I remember the people outside. They're waiting for us. He smiles in acknowledgement and holds my hand as we walk down the aisle together. The crowd erupts in clapping and cheers as we emerge from the church as husband and wife. Most of these people are from the congregation that welcomed me when Silas introduced me to them on the day he spoke about my brother's miracle recovery. My parents didn't send out any invitations since we weren't having a reception. Dad is an only child, and all my grandparents are dead. Uncle Dave is a bachelor who has no wife or children, and he is my only family apart from my parents and my brother. Shelby and Mason are the only friends I invited, and Michael is Silas's only friend here. We could have just gone to City Hall to get married, but it was nice to say our vows in church. I think it made my parents feel better, too, for the minister to bless our marriage. They had a lot of misgivings about us getting married right now, although they gave up on trying to talk me out of it. I go in Silas's car to the park. He drives, and Michael sits in the back seat behind me. We talk about the church we just got married in, and Michael comments that he would also like to be a minister in a non-denominational Christian church. "I grew up Catholic," I tell him, "but I've been going to church here since Silas and I decided to get married there. The people have been really nice. Most of them were here today." "Mrs. Perkins saw to that," Silas says with a laugh. "She was shocked when I told her that we had 5 people coming to the wedding." "6 now with Mason," I amend. "I invited him yesterday when I saw him at the cemetery." "You were at the cemetery yesterday?" Michael questions in surprise. "I went to visit my friends," I explain. "They died in an accident almost 2 years ago." It's startling to realize that it's been that long. But it's also amazing to know that Silas has only been human for such a short time. Time really depends on your perspective of it. "I'm sorry," Michael says. "Thank you," I reply. We fall silent for the rest of the drive to the park, but I'm not reminiscing about my friends. I did that yesterday, and now I'm focused on the people who are here with me now. I'm feeling really content with today, and I'm enjoying the peaceful atmosphere in the car with Silas and Michael. Maybe I should engage him in conversation more and get to know him better, but I'm too relaxed right now. I'll have plenty of time to talk to him when I'm living in Silas's apartment near the Bible college. Silas gave my parents the key, and they're going to move my stuff there while we're away on our honeymoon. He already has furniture, so all I need are my clothes and personal items. I've got my suitcase for the trip packed and ready to take to the airport. Our small wedding party draws attention to the park as the photographer poses us for pictures. Shelby is a bundle of nerves beside me, and I finally get to ask her if she's okay while we're posing for a picture alone. "He's so flirty," she whispers to me. "Oh my gosh, I thought I was going to." She trails off when the photographer directs us to smile for the picture. I'm soon smiling in amusement when Mason requests a picture with us. He stands in the middle, of course, with his arms around me and Shelby. "Behave," I tell him out of the corner of my mouth. "Say cheese," he instructs me with a devious smile. The photographer calls to me to look toward the camera, so I smile for my picture with Mason. I'm hoping that it captures his mischievous expression, because that's how I always think of him. Shelby falls into step with me as we begin walking back to the cars. "He smells so good," she remarks quietly. I'm starting to worry about how enamored she's become with him, although I agree that his cologne smells good. I like Mason very much, but I don't want Shelby to get hurt if he's only playing a game with her. I need to talk to Mason alone, and I have an idea of how to accomplish that, but I hesitate to suggest it. He suddenly speaks my idea aloud. "Hey, Mila, let's catch up on the way to the restaurant. Can Silas give Shelby a ride?" "Yes," Silas answers. I grab Shelby's hand and give it a reassuring squeeze. "I'll see you there." She's still looking like she just got rejected, but I walk away from her to say thanks to Silas. I also give him a quick peck on the lips before following Mason to his car. He turns the key in the ignition and we put on our seatbelts. "He's not the jealous type," he remarks thoughtfully. "You were testing him?" I question. "I've got to know if I can trust him with you," he replies. "Can I trust you with Shelby?" I retort. He smirks at me before pulling out of the parking spot. "You're the one who wanted to give me your number." "She likes you," I tell him, "but I don't know if you like her. Don't mess with her head if you're not interested." "Who says I'm not interested?" he queries. "Are you?" I press. "Not in marriage," he retorts, "if that's what you're asking." "Not ever?" I ask in dismay. "Not right now," he amends. "Not until after college, at least." "Oh," I respond. "That's okay then. But what about having a girlfriend right now?" "I don't know," he admits. "College is a time for, uh, exploring your options." I'm pretty sure I know what he means by options. "Well, Shelby wants a real relationship, so don't start anything with her if that's not what you want." "Is she a virgin too?" he asks. "Just like you?" I quip. He snorts. "I'm as much of a virgin as your husband is." "He actually is," I confide. "I'm the only girl he's ever dated." Mason glances at me in disbelief. "That's what he told you? And you believe him?" "It's true," I insist. "How do you know?" he challenges. "Just because he's going to that Bible college doesn't mean that he's never touched a girl. He wasn't born a priest." "I know everything about Silas," I state. "I've known him my whole life, so—" "What do you mean you've known him your whole life?" Mason interrupts me. "Shelby said that he moved here after the accident, which is another thing I want to ask you about. How could Silas tell you about Chloe and Scott if he didn't know them?" I'm stumped for an answer to that question. He, heard it from someone at school. And he came straight to you with that information? Mason remarks sarcastically. Because you've known him your whole life. When exactly did you meet him? I reply with the truth. I met him at the zoo when I was a kid. Mason hadn't been expecting that answer. You've known each other since you were kids. I don't correct his assumption that Silas was also a kid. Yeah, but I didn't see him much. His uncle travels a lot for business. So you don't know everything about him, he tells me. He could have had girlfriends he didn't tell you about. A guy who looks like that has girls approaching him even if he doesn't approach them. It had happened the first night Silas was human, and I'd seen it happen at school. You know that from experience? I tease Mason. Yeah, he admits before slanting his gaze toward me. You're saying I look like a guy who, you know you're hot. I cut him off. Stop fishing for compliments. Mila. He pretends to scold me in a scandalized tone. You're a married woman. His playful mood instantly sours. God, Mila, you're a married woman. He laughs bitterly. You haven't even been to prom yet. I don't care about prom, I say. I'm happy, Mason. So why can't you be happy for me too? Your parents sure as hell aren't happy, he remarks. They're okay with it, I begin. I'm not going to argue with you, he interrupts me. I just want to tell you that you can call me if you can't call your parents. If this thing goes bad, call me and I'll come get you. No questions asked. I was set to argue with him, but I'm touched by his offer. Thank you, Mason. That means a lot. But you won't need to come get me. This is my destiny. He groans. Not the he's my destiny crap. Okay, well, in case your destiny changes, child bride, you can call me if you need to. I am not a child, I exclaim in outrage. I'm 18, and you just called me a woman 2 minutes ago. And you called me hot, he reminds me gleefully. Here I was worried about trusting Silas when he should be worried about trusting you. Does he know that you showed up naked at my house? Shut up, I mutter. He laughs in response. Oh, I know your secret. You better be nice to me. You better be nice to Shelby, I warn him. Not too nice, I add as he opens his mouth to speak. Too nice? He questions in amusement. How nice should I be, Mila? My only answer is a scowl, and he laughs again. Don't worry, Mila. I won't be too nice to her. It was no wonder that he flustered Shelby so easily. I was used to dealing with him, and he could still talk me into a corner. I couldn't imagine trying to date him. I'm glad I'm married, I declare. If only I could find a nice guy for Shelby, too. I grin at finally having won a verbal battle with him. Mason waits for only a beat. If only I wasn't too nice. His grin eclipses mine. I decide to take the high road. You are nice, and you're a great friend. One day you'll be a great boyfriend, too. I am a great boyfriend, he responds in an offended tone. It was a mutual decision for me and Amber to break up. She wanted to have options in college, too. Hey, he says after a moment of quiet. How can you be sure that you won't want anyone else for the rest of your life? He seems to be genuinely curious about this, so I answer sincerely. I don't think that I've ever really wanted anyone else. I wasn't that attached to Scott, and I was more upset about Chloe than him when I found out about them. She was my friend, But Scott was just a guy I went out with. It wasn't ever serious. And Tyler? He asks. Tyler was important to me, I reply. But I never thought of him as more than a friend. Not until you told me that he liked me. Then I started thinking about how it could have been. But I'll never know for sure if it would have worked out for us. So Tyler could have been the guy for you, he presses. I don't know, I admit. But you got married anyway, he says. Tyler is gone, I remind him gently. But there might be another guy out there for you, he tells me, if you would have waited for him. Why would you say something like that on my wedding day? I demand angrily. Because I want you to know that you're not stuck, he replies. There's no shame in it if you realize that you've made a mistake. I just promised to be with him till death do us part, I exclaim. What is wrong with you, Mason? Don't you have any respect for marriage? My parents are getting divorced, he announces flatly. Now I understand why he's acting this way. I'm sorry, Mason. It's not about them, he denies. I asked you how you know that Silas is the guy for you, and you never said anything about being in love with him. I gape at him in dismay while he keeps his eyes on the road. Of course I'm in love with him. I just married him. You didn't say it was the reason. He insists stubbornly. That's the first thing I would expect a bride to talk about, but you never mentioned it. Look, he continues before I can say anything. I know it's too late to talk you out of it now. I just want you to know there's a way out of this for you if you ever want it. I tamp down on my annoyance as I consider that he's disillusioned by his parents' divorce. He's not in the best mood to appreciate my newlywed status, but I have no doubt that I've made the right choice. I do love Silas, and I'll prove all the doubters wrong.